Never know when it is. And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Can you find the tab?
Yeah, I got to forward this to Jerry real quick.
That's okay. May 12th, 2022. Welcome to the Midday Show. We're going to bounce around today, a couple of trending topics. In my own personal life, crypto is crashing. We're going to talk about that. Mark can make a little bit of fun of me with that as well. The inflation percentages I read to you yesterday. I think that would be interesting to go over. Do you remember me giving you those percentages?
Yes.
Or were you zoned out?
Well, isn't like, I mean, say crypto, it would have been interesting to see where crypto went in the real world. But now with Ukraine and with inflation, with gas prices, it's just, nobody saw, when people were talking about crypto in September, nobody saw this coming. So it's kind of been a...
When you say saw it coming, you mean like the world, what's
happened in the world. It's like, I mean, what's happened to crypto and the economy right now is almost like what happened to the end of the Trump administration when COVID showed up. Because I still say that if COVID doesn't arrive, even when it arrived,
right, that
Trump would have won again. There's no way gas prices are what they are if it wasn't for what's going on in Ukraine and all these issues. You know, because did we talk about it on the air or off the air about all the wheat and the...
On the air. I told you about the wheat production.
I remember you telling me. I didn't know if it was before the show or after the show. But like there's a lot of... the global market is just so intertwined. There's a lot more than just, oh, these two neighbors are fighting over in Europe.
Sure. Let's start there then. So these were the inflation numbers from yesterday. So these are where Americans are seeing the biggest jump in percentages when it comes to inflation. Do you want to guess some of these, even though I read some to you yesterday?
I think 8 something.
Do you remember gas? Do you remember where gas is at?
I just got gas today. It was like $4.50 something.
Yeah. So gas for the year to date is up 44%.
Oh, because yeah, so 40 would have been that about makes sense.
So gas is up 44%. Airfare is up a third. It's up 33%.
You know what's funny? You read these to me yesterday.
Yeah.
I was just scrolling through and they were ads. So who knows? But it was like cheap flights and cheap this. And I was like, I didn't think anything was cheap right now. So I didn't click
it's all
on
relative, I guess, right?
Yeah, I guess. I didn't click on any of it to see what their definition of cheap was.
Right. Eggs, 23%.
Yeah, I knew that.
Pretty crazy. Utility gas, 23%. Used cars, 23%. I knew there was a spike about a year ago in purchases and sales, but I didn't know the spike included the cost of them as well.
Yeah, it is.
I knew they were getting bought up, but I didn't realize they were becoming more expensive at the same time to have a used car. Hotels, 23%.
See, so these are one, like with a hotel, used cars just kind of supply and demand. So hotel, aren't people traveling less? So are they just doing it to try to stay afloat and figure that the people that are traveling need to travel?
It's possible.
I don't know. That surprised. The other one that surprised me is like PP&L on there, is electric utilities.
Yeah, so electricity's up 11%.
I saw we've got a jump coming in June or whatever.
For anyone who doesn't know,
why is that?
I'm not sure if it's the actual service or if it's the actual provider. I'm not sure. However, what is it? Production. There you go. 38%. If you go to PPL, so anybody who uses PPL, you can actually lock in your rate for 12 months if you go to the site. So I cannot suggest that enough. If you haven't done that yet, just a little tip, a hint for anybody out there. Go to the site. You can lock in your rate, 12 months. It won't adjust. Right now, I think PPL, the going rate's like I'm going to get this wrong. It's like 0.8 something or other. It's going to jump up to like 12. So you can save yourself about a third of your bill.
I was going to say, people don't know what those numbers are. Yes. They know how much more. Oh, my bill's now $40 more to use.
You can keep your bill down about a third from what I've seen if you go to PPL and lock it in. And it's free to lock it in. You don't have to start a new account. You don't have to, it's not like this thing where you got to, are you a new member? And no. Existing account, you can go lock it in.
Look at you being helpful and stuff. You're like a big coupon.
Trying. So lock that in if you get a chance. Just a couple of other ones. Bacon, 18%. Chicken, 15%. I mean, anybody who's a wing eater, that one's been very, very obvious for the past year. Milk, 15%. This one's nuts. Furniture is up 15%. My sister is considering buying a new couch. First of all, they don't have any to show. Like if you go to a furniture show right now, there's like, you can't see anything. Second of all, they won't sell you anything on the floor because that's the last thing they have.
Right.
So you can't show up and say like, well, we'll just take this one, because they'll just be like, if I give you that one,
And we have an empty room.
Yes, we have an empty room. I can't give it to you. And the other part of it, everything that they like looked into or wanted was 8 to 12 months out from being able to be delivered.
So, I had heard this from the car industry. Because when you drive by lots, they're just much more sparse.
Okay.
And that I had a guy tell me, we're still selling. I don't know if he was like as much. We're still selling a lot.
Okay.
But now people are ordering it online.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not sitting here and people aren't walking around the lot looking.
Yeah.
They're looking online. They order it. We get it shipped in from wherever it's at.
Right.
And then we call them. Like it shows up in the morning. We clean it up, hose it down. We call them, and at 2 o'clock they come in and pick it up.
Yeah.
So from what I heard, and I don't know if this is, but this was a car salesman guy.
Yeah.
It's different, but they're not dead. Like the car industry is not dead.
No, I don't think it's dead. I think things are moving. It's just slower, and it's just taking
When
longer
it just
to get
doesn't
stuff.
sit on the lot.
No, it doesndon't. Tekla says, hi guys. Yep, glad I'm closing my house this summer. Told the kids to pack their sleeping bags. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it. I don't know if you're going to be able to find a bed. I don't know if you're going to be able to get furniture if you're moving into a house right now. You know what's been really significant, and because we just moved into a house, Facebook Marketplace has been like a lifesaver for us, finding things that we might not have been able to get at the store.
It is like the modern yard sale.
Yes.
And it is efficient.
And people have furniture that they're willing to get rid of, things that you can get now,
Mm-hmm.
So like if you really need a bed, you really need a couch, a chair, whatever it is, like if you go to Facebook Marketplace, there is stuff there. And people are like, it sounds weird to say this, they're very reasonable. It's amazing how people will negotiate. I thought on Facebook Marketplace, if somebody posted something was $50, it was a hard 50, like, oh my God, I don't want to negotiate with this person. Our experience has been the opposite. Most people, like, they'll list something, you go, hey, like, I'll give you this for it. And they'll go be like, no, I was hoping to get more. Or they'll be like, sounds good. Or they'll throw a counter. Like, it's amazing how cordial people are on this marketplace. I didn't expect that at all.
Well, I've always found that. Have you ever done a yard sale?
Yes. When I was younger, we had a yard sale every summer.
The people that are behind it, they are hard fast.
Okay.
For the first couple hours. Nope. That old baby stroller, I'm getting $40 for it.
Right.
And then by like Saturday afternoon, they take 8.
Yeah.
Because
you got to get something.
So I can imagine that I can suspect that a lot of Facebook marketplaces, it's found money.
Yeah.
We're going to get something out of it.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are professionals that will haggle you, like the people who way back when who eBay became a business.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are people like that, but I think most people like, hey, if I could either have the dump take it away.
Right.
Who do you call after?
It can sit in the corner, or you can grab some.
Or I can get $10 for it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
So
Heather says a friend of mine purchased a couch in October, was told 25 to 28 weeks for delivery. She finally got it last Saturday. So they weren't wrong.
That's close.
I mean, they weren't wrong. I mean,
half a year.
I give them a ton of credit for saying that, because I'm sure there are some companies and there are some places and industries that it's just like, well, we're hoping maybe in a month, and then it's like 6 months later and you still don't have it, but you put down the down payment. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there are places that are taking their sales no matter what it takes to get them.
I bet they've learned. I bet that there were some companies that took so much backlash.
Yeah.
And then, people demanded refunds, and they're just like, listen. And some company was ballsy enough to do it first. It says, hey, you're not going to get it for 6 months. And people just kept ordering.
No, I'm with you. There was one other, real quick, sorry, let me pull that back up. There was one other one that I wanted to, new cars, 14%. So used cars are up 23, new cars up 14. I wonder the margin there. There must be a line where you're losing. That percentage must cross at a certain point. So that fascinates me
Well, I'd always heard they make way more money on used cars than new cars.
because the margin is different.
But the value of the new car from the dealer is that you keep bringing it back for service over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Through the life of the car. So
anyway, I wonder where that.
But that's
line
just what
crosses.
that's what I heard. That's what they say.
Coffee 14%.
Don't drink coffee. Doesn't matter.
I don't either. That's the one I keep telling you. That's the one I don't think's ever coming back down.
Coffee.
I think coffee is staying
because people are hooked.
Not only are people hooked, I just think the climate of the world, like I think it's not coming back. I think if you're paying $5 for a cup of coffee now, I don't think it's coming back.
You're probably right.
I really think that's an interesting topic too. What are the products that are just going to, now that if you're purchasing them daily, they're just never going to come back. Even if tomorrow, like inflation started decreasing and somehow there are certain products that were so ingrained of you just flip down the 5, you put down the 1, you
swipe.
Yep, you swipe. I think coffee is one of those where people are just going to be so ingrained that a cup of coffee's $5, $6, $7 that it is what it is. I don't think they'll ever have to lower it again.
You might be right.
What about, I'm trying to think cigarettes, chewing tobacco.
Well, cigarettes, but I think that what's different between coffee and cigarettes is it just seems, maybe I'm wrong, it just seems to me that fewer people smoke now because it's been so beaten into people that smoking's bad. It's
so funny though, because when you go to a convenience store, I mean, there's more choices, there's more brands, it's loaded.
I guess
what I'm saying is the weird part is I've never seen less people smoking in my life, but I've never seen more. But I've never seen more product shelved available in my life either.
I just know, and again, this is 35 years ago. When I was in high school, especially the girls, lots of girls smoked. Now, I've had 2 girls go through high school. I can't name any of their friends that smoke.
Yeah.
If I,
don't name any of them.
I'm just thinking I coach basketball. If someone told me one of the kids smoked, I'd have been shocked. And
kids are sneaky. Kids are
now maybe it's all vaping and all that other stuff.
I was gonna say kids are unbelievably more a step ahead than what adults typically want to give them credit for.
I guess.
I think there's probably more kids in our area that vape.
Well, I was gonna, now that I think about it, if they just don't smoke now, they all vape, and that's why it's different. And maybe.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I do think it's possible. Crypto crash, worst murder ever. Let's do just crypto crash real quick. There's not that much to say. Crypto's crashing. I want to say it's 200. I have the number here for you. $200 billion was erased from the entire crypto market in a day. Did you know about this at all?
200 billion?
200 billion.
Well, who was it, Jerry? Someone just told us. It's one of the asks, because we talk before we're on the air and then we talk on the air, and I don't remember which one's which. That 40% of Bitcoin investors are now underwater. Yes. Did he say that, or did you say that?
No, I think he said it. It's 40%, and that's just Bitcoin. Some of the other coins, I mean, it's 60, 70, 80%.
Okay.
But again, a lot of people got into this at the peak of it.
Right.
And the whole game is buying low and selling
Buy
high.
low, sell high.
And people got their checks from the government. People were sitting at home doing nothing at the peak, and that's when they decided to get in on some of this. So 200 billion erased from the entire crypto market. There was one other part of it. Bitcoin fell to 27,000 a Bitcoin. Right now, I think it might be around 26,000 a Bitcoin. It's the lowest that it's been in 16 months. So here's the irony to what Jerry's saying. 100% true, but it's a 16-month low. There's a lot of stocks and there's a lot of other sectors of finance that wish they were at a 16-month low.
No, I get that.
You know what I mean? But it's just the volatility of crypto is so much higher that it just makes the swings seem crazier.
Well, I equated this. I don't know if we talked about this, and I'm far from a financial expert, but when the internet came out And when every .com went through the roof, even things like stamps.com.
Remember pets.com?
Yes.
Remember that was going to be a thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what is stamps.com? You can buy stamps online. You don't have to. And you're like, well, great, but is it really that inconvenient? Because you can buy stamps at the grocery store. You can buy stamps at Walmart. You can buy stamps. So anyway, so then after a little while, when people are like, oh my God, it's a .com, it's going to go. And then all of a sudden people started taking the profits out and all these things crashed.
Sure.
And there had to be a similar element with crypto. And then the internet kind of figured out what worked and what didn't and what was going on. And if you were an Apple and Amazon and Netflix and all these, there are ones that made buku. And I'm sure crypto is going to do the same thing.
The majority of these coins are going to die.
Yes.
It's with just the way the majority of websites died off in the 90s, the majority of these are going to.
But the ones that survive will survive.
Yes.
And they will be part of. And it'll just take a longer and longer time for this stuff to incorporate itself into society.
Mm-hmm.
We need younger people to keep growing and getting money, and older people to keep dying off and leaving money, and it'll keep cycling through. But like, it was a big deal when they're like, oh, Walmart's now taking Bitcoin, and then, but how many people do you know go to Walmart and use Bitcoin? So it's just
right. There is a neat story. I think you'll appreciate this before we move on to.
Is this about the dead person?
Not yet. There is a last thing about the crypto, and I think you'll find this interesting. Do you remember a year and a half ago the Wall Street gains? Do you remember this at all? And essentially what they did is they started pumping up GameStop and AMC.
Oh,
so
yes.
Raising the prices of these dead stocks.
Off Reddit.
All these other hedge funds, and all these other hedge funds has essentially sorted them, betted on them to lose, bet on them to lose. So here's what happened yesterday, and this is like a small part of this that most of the mainstream media isn't reporting. BlackRock, who is the big real estate conglomerate, they're the ones buying up all housing, and there's another one called the Citadel. They apparently did some finagling behind the scenes. What they ended up doing is they bought a big stable coin, like a big cryptocurrency, and then essentially sold it all at once. And it forced like a flash crash. Okay. And it was essentially their way of getting back at some of the Wall Street gains people. So what you have here is all the hedge funds that kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit a year and a half ago. Some of them have now figured out how to fight back a little bit against some of these coin creators and some of these crypto. I don't know.
Right, I know what you mean.
But I find that incredibly fascinating that they left their arena to come to the crypto arena to kind of slap some people around and gain some money. And it worked. It worked in a big way. One of the companies that they did it to was called Luna. Luna is now 97% down. So it is almost all but erased because of this move by BlackRock and the Citadel, this hedge fund. Pretty like interesting. Now, like, I think it's like a movie script almost. Mm-hmm. Like you have like them and then they go into it would be a neat, like, you ever seen Margin Call? How it's like all the behind the scenes stuff of the banks and the market crash. It was like
a documentary.
It was like Kevin Spacey was in it.
Oh, it's a real movie.
Oh yeah, really.
Oh,
good.
it's not that. Okay.
But anyway, it, like, to me, like the behind the scenes of this and like them sitting down and figuring out like how do we get back at them? Like how do we get into crypto? How do we make them crash is fascinating.
Everything I learned about the stock market, I learned from Trading Places.
Oh, okay. How'd that work out?
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah. So there you go. So crypto crash. I'm not that worried about it. It's a 16-month low. I think there's tons of things that wish right now today they were at a 16-month low.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Personally. Worst murder ever. We actually have two stories, but yours is the worst murder ever.
Yeah, I read it wherever it was. A guy in South Carolina.
Yes.
Had just murdered someone and was burying them in his own backyard, had a heart attack and died while digging the hole to bury the person in his backyard.
It's almost like too movie-esque to be.
It's like real. A bad, like a scary movie spoof, something like that.
Right. Do you think they just fell into the hole? Like, do you think like, and then it was just like double person?
I think the cop showed up and just kind of kicked him, rolled him in,
kicked the dirt in, and just shoved it into it. It's funny. You might get this. There's aspects in my life where the closer I get to finishing them, I get more nervous because it's just like I've played basketball the last 2 nights. We talked about the other show. It is funny, like when I know it's the last game and there's like a loose ball on the floor, I kind of won't go for it because like I'm healthy, I'm not injured, like I'm gonna walk out of here on 2 legs.
You know,
and go ahead.
I was gonna say I can totally relate to that because when I in Mike's career, I was the bullpen catcher a lot, getting him ready for spring training. So when it's end of January and it's February and he was throwing hard, and I didn't have equipment. I just squatted down and caught him.
Yeah.
And when you started out, you know, he's just like he's warming up, but it's still hard, but it's not that hard.
Sure.
And the more when it got, and I knew we were about at the end,
you got nervous.
I would get a little nervous because I'm like, I've got all the way through this. All I need to do is catch 6 more.
Yeah.
Like the first 6, I was fine. The first 40, I was fine.
Right.
The last 5,
you get
I was like, just catch it. We're almost done. Just catch it.
So this story made me think about like when I'm cutting food, I do the same thing. So like as I get to like the end of the watermelon or like the end of the last couple of cuts,
don't screw it up.
I'm like really like my hand's a little further away. Like because I'm just like I made it this far. Like I'm not going to. So it made me start thinking like all these different aspects of my life where like like the closer you get to the end of it. So this would be like the worst case scenario. Like you are at the finishing stages of committing this crime.
Yes.
And at the very end of it, like your heart just gives out on you. Pretty brutal.
That is a bad movie.
It is.
What was your other one?
There was also the oh my goodness, the scuba diver. So in Australia,
yes, this is a cool story too.
So in Australia,
there's a job opening.
There was a very lucrative one, I would guess, dangerous but lucrative hazard pet. This scuba diver washed up on the shore on an Australian port, and when he washed up on the shore, there was, I believe, $20 million of cocaine with him.
He was an underwater drug mule.
Yes, and so they said he had like these different. One of the apparatus was a debreather. So what it does is when you breathe underwater, not only can you breathe, it gives you oxygen, but it also eliminates the bubbles.
That was the
so
thing.
You can't
so he
come
could
up.
Sneak.
Yes, so he could like sneak underneath and deliver the cocaine. So that whole aspect of it, like you made it all the way to Australia. And like you wash up on shore because it's not like they found him in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, I don't know how far he went.
Or floating.
But
we
obviously got off a boat close enough, but then had to go the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean he was very, very close.
This just came to me. I didn't know. He didn't read the fine print. The reason that no bubbles come up is because you stop breathing.
You stop breathing. That's what it is.
No more bubbles.
So as I dug more into the story. Obviously, this doesn't come as a surprise. Latin America is the number one supplier of cocaine. Okay. However, the number one, what's the word I'm looking for? Like system, like the number one path for cocaine is now Australia.
Really?
It's also the most lucrative. I'm assuming because it's an island. I'm assuming because it's Australia, it's probably harder to get into Australia. So people, there's a premium on it. People will pay more for it.
Interesting.
Yes. So Australia and a couple of other government agencies around the world, they're teaming up to try to like end this whole cocaine route because that's how it's become the number one route for cocaine in the world.
I would have never guessed that. You think Australia is like the happy, good people that just like whatever.
Down under. They still have, like, I was looking up, because remember like a year ago, I told you about some of their COVID restrictions and how like kind of weird it was. They still have quite a bit of their COVID stuff in place.
That's crazy.
Now I know, they're an island. It's a continent. It's large, but it's still an island. So I'm sure they probably feel like they have health risks that maybe another continent doesn't have. But it is like, I don't know. I mean, 2.5, 3 years out of this and to still have some of the stuff they have in place.
By the way, my right eye just started itching so badly. I refuse to touch it.
Just rub it.
Nope,
just do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Just do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Now
that I'm talking about it, it's getting worse, but I'm not going to do it.
You'll feel better. We have 5 minutes. Short show today. 5 minutes. Anything that you wanted to bring up?
Yes, I want to say.
What did you want to say?
First of all, Golden State was losing by 52 points after 3 quarters last night.
And that's being polite.
No, that's the number.
No, I know.
52.
But like they weren't losing. They were getting.
Do you know how hard it is to lose by 52, 3 quarters away? 36 minutes into a basketball game?
I think but here's the I think that was a perfect storm. You have a team that has won multiple championships before. The other team gets up 25. And you can just tell these
and they're
guys
just like, we're fun.
And you could tell these guys were kind of like, we have 2 more games to close this out. We're going back home. Let's not exert ourselves.
They were thinking like we were thinking, don't get hurt now.
Yes. I honestly
I'm with you.
I honestly, well, here's the other thing too. Steve Kerr didn't coach because
he has COVID.
Yes.
I saw
so
I knew that before I read that.
So 2 things. The first thing is you could tell that the moment Memphis got up, they were like, this isn't happening. And I think Steve Kerr not being there had a ton to do with that. The second thing is Mike Brown stepped in for him. And for anybody who doesn't know Mike Brown has been fired from the Cleveland Cavaliers when he coached LeBron. He was fired from the Los Angeles Lakers at one point. He had like some gig with UNLV that he was let go from. At one point, Mike Brown was getting paid by 3 different organizations to sit on the Golden State Warriors bench. He was getting paid by the Cavs, the Lakers, and a college.
In like for the Clippers.
This is the funny part of the story. Mike Brown stands up. A week ago, he was named the head coach for the Sacramento Kings.
Okay.
And then a week later, he is losing to the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, is it his fault? I'm not saying it's his fault, but you can't tell me the people in Sacramento last night weren't looking at each other like, do we want to rethink this?
Well, and Memphis' best player didn't play.
No, they did not.
So, anyway. I did want to mention that. And I also want to mention for hockey last night, like the first goal, get the lead early. Yeah. I got to do this right. Dallas was up 1-0 and lost.
Okay.
The Penguins were up 2-0 and lost.
Okay.
And the Capitals were up 3-0 and lost.
Okay.
So last night, the early leads in hockey all evaporated.
Okay.
And you just don't see that. Not that often.
They don't see it because no one watches hockey, or they don't see it. They don't see it because it was
that was very well played. But no. And I also want to say that Jeff and I continued our conversation from yesterday before the show. And fortunately for you guys, we won't go there because it was
we won't replay it.
Yes, Jeff was very wrong very many times, and I don't want to make him do it publicly.
I'm happy that I don't have an ex and that you're my friend. Let's put it that way. That's the fairest way that I can put it.
Wait a minute, you don't have an ex. You have like 70 exes.
Yeah, but once you moved on, like you can't be the ex. You only have one ex.
Does Hank say that?
What do you mean?
What does Hank say about ex-exes?
Well, I mean, if he had a different ex now, then like that's not his ex anymore.
Is that a double X?
That's what I'm saying. There are no double or triple X's. There's only your ex. There's only your most recent. Everybody else is what? An acquaintance? Everyone else is your past. They're not an ex. They're your past.
Mm-hmm. And I think the weather has been beautiful this weekend, and then this week, and then Saturday it's going to pour. And
it's going to rain near the back end of the weekend. I think it's going to rain. I think Friday we're still good. Like tomorrow.
Well, I like 5 in a row. We'll take 5 in a row.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think tomorrow's nice, and then the weekend's.
That's what I'll end the show on. Doors off today. First day.
Oh, really?
First day, doors off, dog hair everywhere. just going down Grimesville Road, hair everywhere. It's summer is here. This is summer. Summer's here.
Is the first sign of summer the doors off or the dog hair flying?
Well, both, because that's the first day. The first day.
The first day it cleans out the dog hair.
The first day it cleans out the dog hair.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yes. So I'm just Grimesville Road. You can just see the trail, just the particles of hair.
When is shedding season over, or is it over?
So he's on the back end. So Huskies like molts, so they shed all year. But there's 2 periods of time. There's like a 4-week span where the seasons change twice a year, where it's just brutal. He is at the back end of it, so it's still a little brutal right now. But we are near the end.
So my pollen season is your dog hair season. Yes. They kind of overlap.
They do, for sure. It's rough.
But at least your dog is like nice to you, whereas the pollen is never nice to me.
It took 5 years. My dog is nice to me. What's funny too? Like,
how's the puppy?
We don't have a puppy.
Interesting. We are
puppy free.
You didn't end that sentence with yet.
We are puppy free until at least 2023. I will tell you that.
Oh, you got a stay of execution.
Puppy free till 2023.
There you go.
That's what we're aiming for.
Well, you got a good dog. Like you don't need multiple dogs. You got a good dog.
We're good. We are very, 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 very good. I slept very, very well last night. So thank you.
You know
guys.
who did not sleep well? Mike Brown.
No, he did not. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
Still haven't itched?
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. We will see you tomorrow.
See you.